A-level results day was a week ago, and as much as university obviously makes sense for many people, I'm not sure if I'm one of them. And for that reason, I've decided to have a think. And hopefully as a result of that, this video comes out as thought out and quite introspective, rather than just a rant. I ended my A-level campaign, let's call it, with an A star, 2 A's, and a B. They weren't quite the results I wanted, but they got me into my firm university nonetheless. And before this turns into one of those, university is a scam, come and buy my course and let's make millions online, that isn't my argument, and this video isn't one of those videos. So sorry if I've disappointed you on that front, because university obviously makes sense for a select number of individuals. I'm not going to contest that. I just don't know whether it makes sense for me. To understand why I feel this way, I think it'll be useful to give you some context of my situation, because it may come as a surprise to some people, especially when you look at my bookshelf over there. But when I started my A-level journey, I wasn't actually interested in academics or learning. I wasn't even interested in university or anything intellectual. I only cared about track running. Yeah, my GCSEs were pretty decent, but I didn't care about them. I didn't try, I didn't revise at all. You know, I cared more about the time on the clock than the letters on the paper. And I won't bore you with the long story, else we'd be here for hours. But essentially, I got injured very bad numerous times and had to leave the sport. And at a similar time, I started picking up books and getting really interested into philosophy, history, and just generally learning about things. But I also realised as I became more competent at my A levels and more competent within academic life, that a love for learning doesn't necessarily correlate with a love for academia and loving academic assessment, because the two things are just not the same. You know, I really enjoy having a question and taking it to its logical conclusion and following that path. However, exams don't necessarily reward that style of thinking a lot of the time, and almost punish you for that, which in my opinion is not a very good form of assessment, but there's a reason I'm probably making a YouTube video right now, rather than examining exams. But despite this, I did pretty well in my A-level mocks, and I ended year 12 with 4 A stars predicted. And then as you do your UCAS, and you know, the teachers are like, you're one of the highest performing students in the cohort. Apply to these universities, and you did. And from that, I got offers from top 10 universities in the country and even some top 5 universities in the country. So being an outsider looking in, you'd probably look at me and go, you know, that lad's going to go pretty far. Despite this, I wasn't 100% sure in myself and my choice, and I felt my heart wasn't really in it. For sure, I love reading, learning, writing, and creating things, and although I took a long hiatus from YouTube during college, I always loved creating things. Just the medium changed. I went from, you know, in college writing critical essays, short stories, etc., and showing these to peers and teachers and academic advisors. And I always got positive feedback. I've always liked and loved making things, but university didn't seem to click with that. However, I just put it up to me being young, and eventually it'll click. You know, I even had my Cambridge interview at the end of 2025. And what bothered me afterwards wasn't even not getting it was that during the whole process, and then visiting other unis and doing taster days and whatnot, the feeling followed. And it was the question of, is this actually what I want? And for any of you watching who haven't exactly put the pieces together yet, I'm applying for philosophy. You know, I believe it's probably the subject and discipline that comes most naturally to me and aligns with how my brain thinks. And for that reason, it puts me in a rather unique scenario, because unlike many of my peers, I'm not exactly going to university for a job or career at the end of it. I'm doing it for the love of the game. And as capable as I am to study a different humanities subject, war, which would probably lead to a job at the end of it, I'm left with two questions. One, I'm not exactly passionate about those subjects. I don't really care. And for somebody like me, passion is extremely important and is contingent on my success. If I'm not passionate at something, most likely I won't succeed, because I'll either get extremely interested in something and only think about that, or I just don't care and don't give it any second thought. And two, there's nothing to say that studying a different humanities subject, because let's be honest, I'm not going to go into STEM or medicine, choosing an alternative degree doesn't correlate with getting me a job. And even if they did, who's to say that I would enjoy the work, or the money that I'm earning would be worth the discomfort of doing the work in the first place? And especially all the pessimistic news coming out about graduate roles or lack thereof, it raises the question, why do something that I don't care about on the basis that it'll probably get me a job, especially with the statistics and numbers pointing to the fact that it probably won't. So we get to this point where I'm kind of damned if I do, but I'm damned if I don't. So it begs the question, why jump into something now which I am currently uncertain about? And why not spend that uncertain time continuing the things I actually love, rather than taking a giant loan out for the sake of it? So after some thinking, I contacted my firm university and asked for a deferral, which they very gracefully permitted. So I've got a year, folks. A year to keep making these funny and slightly ridiculous YouTube videos. Un año aprenda español porque es importante para mi futuro y desarrollo intelectual. My God, my Spanish is awful, and probably does need a year of learning. A year to take BJJ as far as I can. A year to continue learning. A year to increase the money I'm making. And only after this year can I correctly evaluate the question, is university right for me? Or more importantly, can I actually build a life I want outside of university? So, am I making a video that's saying university is wrong and you should do this instead? No, I'm not. Nor am I promoting university as a moral imperative either. I'm making this video not only for myself, but people in the future who are looking towards university, those who have A-levels and are perhaps thinking of going to university, or people in my situation which have got the grades for it but are not exactly sure what they want to do. And what I'm trying to say is, look, there's people like you, you're not alone, and I'm just one of these people. It's okay to be uncertain about things. What's dangerous, however, is letting that uncertainty make the decision for you, or blindly following what people expect of you. Now, I don't know if I'll go to university next year, and that's exactly the point. I don't have the answers, and anyone telling you that they do is more than likely lying to you, or deeply embellishing what they already know. What I have, however, and what I think is more important, is the ability to think and question things and hopefully come to a rational and well-rounded conclusion and choice. So if that interests you, follow along, because over this year I'm hopefully going to have some interesting things to say which you guys can hopefully challenge, agree with, or even implement into your life. Although I don't think exactly taking advice from an 18-year-old teenager with a Wi-Fi connection is probably the most useful thing you can do with your life. But for now, I've been yaccqub, and before I finish and you go on and watch another video, hopefully it's one of mine, I'd like to leave you with this video from Ye. As controversial as he has been for the past couple years, I think this is important.
People go to school and they're spending $8,000, $10,000 a year, $15,000, and they have no idea what they want. Just stop. Just stop. Wait a second before you sign all those loans, before you put yourself in debt for the rest of your life, and say, what do I want to do with my life? Sometimes you just need a couple years after high school just to get yourself together. You know, and that's...
In other words, even you may not be right for college today, but if you go off and do something else, whether it's the military, whatever you might do, and or go to work or whatever you might do, if you come back after 2 years or 3 years and go to college, college will be more meaningful, and therefore you get more out of it, and therefore you'll benefit from it better.